Ayahuasca doesn't make overnight shamans. Misunderstood visions do. This video is not about scandal. It is not about attacking ayahuasca, and it is not about attacking people. It is about integration, initiation, and discernment, and what happens when those steps are skipped. A recent article published by Vice magazine has brought these conversations back into the public eye. I'll link that article below. What I want to offer here is education. Hey there, I am Jessa. I am a South American trained shaman. I have been working with Amazon plant medicine and Andean spiritual cosmology for nearly a decade. I'm also a Tantra coach, an alchemist, a channel, and an all around cosmic witch. So let's talk about it. Let me begin by briefly summarizing what the Vice article brings forward, because it's important context here. The article describes a long running ayahuasca center in the United States that operated for many years and served a very large number of people. It raises public concerns around preparation, medical screening, integration, and responsibility in unregulated plant medicine spaces. There are reports of medical emergencies and even deaths connected to these kind of environments and events that understandably create fear, grief, and confusion. And I want to be very clear. I am not here to litigate those events. That is not my role. What matters for this conversation is what the article reveals structurally. It reveals what can happen when ceremony is treated as an event or a service rather than a long term process that requires humility, containment, and accountability. So, ayahuasca very commonly tells people to serve her. This it's very common. This is very real. And this is where misunderstanding begins. Serving the medicine does not automatically mean to pour the cup. Unless the instruction is very specific, the call is usually to serve her mission, not to open a center, not to facilitate ceremonies, and not to take on spiritual authority. Many people confuse the call to serve with permission to lead. Why does this keep happening? It's simple. There is a predictable early stage of integration where the ego believes that it has been chosen. Some people call this spiritual inflation, others call it the savior phase. It is a moment where insight has not yet been tested by time or responsibility or consequence. Someone may drink ayahuasca a handful of times, receive very powerful visions, feel deeply called, and genuinely believe that they are meant to help others. At first, the intention can be sincere, and the issue here isn't malice, it's immaturity of process. Traditional initiation systems exist to slow this phase down. They introduce time, humility, and they introduce correction and accountability. Without those systems, power outpaces wisdom. So, I want to share something else, and this is not as commentary on the article. Ironically, it is loosely linked to Soul Quest as well, but this is as lived witnessing from my own path because this pattern doesn't only affect Western seekers, it affects Indigenous communities as well. Early in my training, I studied with an Indigenous community in Ecuador. Over time, I witnessed what happened when outside money and authority entered the community without protection or discernment. There was an individual who had previously been involved in Western ayahuasca spaces who later arrived and essentially bought their way into what was presented as a shamanic initiation. That influx of money brought visible changes. It brought electricity into bamboo huts, large televisions, hot water systems, and financial relationships with banks. From the outside, you can look at this like progress. From the inside, it created deep fractures. Elders were destabilized, authority structures had shifted, and cultural transmission became entangled with financial dependency. This is what happens when initiation is purchased instead of transmitted. When I read articles like the one published by Vice, I don't see villains. I see what happens when people receive powerful visions without the systems that help them integrate responsibly. I see what happens when service is misunderstood, when initiation is skipped, and discernment is replaced by momentum. And I see how harm can ripple outward from seekers to facilitators into entire community. So, how is this avoided? Here is what not to do. Do not assume every vision is instruction. Take time to sit with it, digest it. I always recommend my participants not to take any action from the messages they've received for the medicine for at least 3 to 5 weeks. Allow it to digest into your life. Number two, do not confuse symbolic language with literal direction. Everything that comes from source, every message that comes from source has multiple meanings. Allow it to land before you take action. Number three, do not rush into leadership roles after a handful of ceremonies. Not much more to say on this one. Just don't do it. Find a teacher, become an initiate. Does not mean you are not ready to be a leader at some point. It means take your time. Do not keep redosing to fix your confusion. If you're confused, sit with it. Don't keep going back to the medicine to give you answers. This is the practice of discernment. Learn how to embody, how to regulate, and how to digest. And the last one, do not bypass therapy. Do not bypass embodiment and do not bypass daily life responsibility. You are here to be a vessel of what is true, not to be right. And if ceremony makes you feel less grounded in reality, something is definitely missing. So look into that. So, what does actual integration look like? Integration is not just journaling once, it is building a practice, a daily habit. They say that it takes 21 days to change your habits. So, take at least 21 days, journal every day. It is all about nervous system regulation. How much can your system sustain? How can you encounter a situation that makes you upset or that might have originally triggered you and find a new way to come at that situation without righteousness, but to come at it with love? It takes time. Nothing is gained overnight. And when you receive these visions, you receive these messages from the medicine, from your meditation, from whatever it is that you are working with to awaken, allow it to digest, allow it to settle into your system and look at it from every angle. You can't solve a Rubik's Cube from looking at one side, and it takes pacing. And this is something in the Tantra world that we call pendulation or titration. It is taking what you can chew, allowing it to digest. It is moving into what hurts you and moving into what regulates and provides safety for you. Learn how to pace. It is about relational accountability. How do you show up in your relationships? Are you showing up with authenticity? Are you saying the hard thing? Or are you just letting it steamroll you back into old patterns and habits? It is living a vision slowly enough to see if it holds, to see if your behaviors, your patterns, your language transforms in the way that you receive these instructions to transform it. Initiation is not about status. Initiation is about containment. It is about listening to those that have come before. It is about listening to the ones that have held the wisdom and to really unpack it into your own life to see if it lands. True initiation doesn't make you feel chosen. It makes you feel accountable. This is the biggest part of initiation. How much can you take account of your own actions? Ayahuasca is not the problem. Medicine is not the problem. The problem is skipping integration. The problem is skipping initiation, and it is skipping discernment. Medicine requires maturity, spiritual maturity. If no one is asking you how you would like to be supported after ceremony, that can be a red flag. If your intake sheet does not ask you if you have a community of support, that should be a red flag. If your facilitator is not asking you about your spiritual practices before you come into the ceremony, that is a red flag. If they're not caring for your physical, emotional, and mental well being, that is a red flag. And I will even admit that in my early days of ceremonies, I was not very well practiced at this. I should have been a red flag. So the more we learn, the more we integrate, the more we become embodied, the better we become at becoming heaven on earth. So ceremony opens the door. Integration teaches you how to live what you have learned. And initiation offers the path to acceptance of who you are. That's all I got for today. Hey, so if this resonated, visit my website at jessafreimeyer.com to explore upcoming courses, free offerings, and don't forget to click the buttons. New videos on spiritual leadership, desire alchemy, and embodied transformation every week. See you next time.